You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Forget the lies, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said that nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out into the music. Play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War, and welcome to the 26th of January 1998. It's the night after Sold Out 98 and the problems within the N.W.A continue. We did learn though that Sting vs Hogan's going to take place at Super Brawl, and Scott Hall isn't happy about this decision. The WWF meanwhile are enjoying a ton of media attention thanks to Mike Tyson's appearance on Raw last week. Tonight Raw comes from Davis, California, while Nitro takes place from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Nitro's now a permanent 3-hour show, and Reliving the War is going to begin every week by looking at Nitro's first 60 minutes. So let's see how Nitro used their unopposed hour. Before that though, Clash at the Castle just happened this past weekend as I'm scripting this video, and Stephen was there with his Bret's Jam shirt representing Reliving the War and showing everyone what being a jam up guy's all about. A big thanks to Stephen and a big thanks to everyone who ordered a shirt recently. You're the best. Alright, let's get started. After the commentators talk about what happened at Sold Out, we get our first match, and what a way to kick off Nitro's new programming schedule. Jam Master El Dandy versus Ultimo Dragon. Dandy got brave and he thought an aerial attack could take out the Dragon, but Dragon drop-kicked Dandy in mid-air before locking in the Dragon Sleeper. Not good. Dragon wins via submission. Brad Armstrong, wearing a shirt that said Armstrong Curse on it, wrestled Bill Goldberg next. Dear, dear, dear. Armstrong tried to distract Goldberg by throwing his shirt on his head and getting in a few cheap shots, but bad move, my man, bad move. Goldberg's spear almost knocked Brad out of his boots. We see the jackhammer and Goldberg wins. We have a bit of catching up to do. Goldberg defeated Chavo Guerrero on the 15th of January Thunder via disqualification thanks to Disco Inferno. He then defeated Kendall Windham on the following episode of Thunder. Jeff Tolbert got jackhammered on the episode of Saturday Night just before Sold Out. And Brad Armstrong got his ass kicked right here on Nitro. That means Goldberg is now officially 23-0. Superstars weighed in on Kevin Nash's powerbomb at Sold Out in between the last two matches, and JJ Dillon comes out to talk about the Giant. There are no updates regarding the Giant at the moment, and Dillon says those close to the Giant are staying quiet about the big man's health. But WCW are going to take action by making what turns out to be a very unpopular decision. Dillon says the powerbomb and all variations of the powerbomb are now banned, and the crowd loudly boos this announcement. If you use the powerbomb, you're going to get disqualified and fined, and if Kevin Nash tries to do the Jacknife, he'll get escorted out of the building, and WCW will explore the possibilities of criminal prosecution. Jerry Flynn vs Conan ended when Flynn tapped out to Conan's Tequila Sunrise. You didn't miss much here, but what you don't want to miss is Steve McMichael's promo. Mongo gets interviewed by Mike Tenay, and Mongo says he's sick of these boys from up north coming in and saying they've done this and they've done that. Mongo says this is WCW and you haven't done shit until you kick some ass in a WCW ring. Mike Tenay wants to know who Mongo's talking about, and then Davey Boy Smith walks out, a man who had actually kicked some ass in WCW long before Big Steve-O here. Davey says he needs a big bone to chew on, and Mongo could very well be that bone. Mongo tells Davey to get his tights on, and tonight Mongo will teach the Bulldog some new tricks, and Davey's like, nah mate, Mongo can't teach a 20-year-old veteran anything new, but Davey will get his gear and he will wrestle Mongo tonight on Nitro. Nitro wins episode 118 of Reliving the War. It can't get any better than this. Rick Steiner vs Buff Bagwell ended when Scotty Steiner threw Vincent into the ring and Vincent landed on the referee. Mickey J then disqualified Rick, and an argument broke out between Rick, DiBiase, Scotty and the referee. Scotty left the ring after pushing Mickey J, while Ted DiBiase says Scotty's gonna pay that fine, not him. Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Eric Bischoff then cut a promo, and Eric says Kevin Nash and the NWO have been singled out by WCW, and Nash says the Giant told him in the ring on Saturday night that he can't go any longer. He was too tired, he was too beat up, So Kevin thought the big man could do with a pick-me-up and he grabbed some coffee. The coffee didn't seem to have much of an effect, so Nash thought the giant could do with a jump start. Kevin looked at the giant and it reminded him of old Yeller. Someone had to put him out of his misery. Nash tries to be a good guy, so Nash dropped the giant on his skull. Kev laughs as he says that's gonna leave a mark, and from this point on, Kevin wants to be called Big Sexy, the Giant Killer Kevin Nash. Jim Neidhart then wrestled Wayne Bloom. Yeah, welcome to 3-hour Nitros, ladies and gentlemen. And the Anvil won with a power slam. Ray Traylor then came out to challenge Kevin Nash to a match. Ray says there's a lot of people afraid to fight Kevin after last night, but not Traylor. So tonight we're going to see Kevin Nash versus Ray Traylor on Monday Nitro. Next up on Nitro, we've got Chavo Guerrero versus Psychosis. Raw starts off with a Mark Henry versus Ken Shamrock match. JR announces a Nation versus Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson and N.W.A match for No Way Out of Texas. And Kenny Boy brings his teammates to Raw for some backup. Shamrock gets dropped over the top rope and Mark then performs a big power slam. The crowd doesn't care. They're all too busy chanting Rocky sucks and Rock's eating it up. Mark performs a backbreaker before applying a bear hug. Ken gets out with a punch to the face. Mark applies bear hug 2. Ken gets out with another punch to the face. Mark then catches a Ken Shamrock crossbody and we see another backbreaker, and there's bear hug number 3.
Mark Henry, big fucking grizzly bear hug.
Shamrock gets out again and he performs a load of thigh kicks, hoping to bring the big man down to the mat. A jump heel kick does the job though, and the crowd pops. The crowd pops again when Ken pulls off a belly to belly, but that's going to be the end of our match. The Nation run in to cause a DQ, and then a brawl breaks out. The biker Michael Lackers, Ahmed Johnson and Ken Shamrock clear out the ring. The crowd were very much behind Ken in this one though. After the bout, we get treated to some unseen footage from the Royal Rumble. The Undertaker's casket got opened up when the show went off the air. Officials looked inside the casket and the Undertaker had vanished. Spooky. On Nitro then, Chavo Guerrero took on Psychosis in what I believe was Chavo's best match so far in WCW. He got to show off a lot more in this one with his impressive springboard bulldog, a fearless somersault senton, and a great mid-air back body drop counter. But even after this impressive showing, Chavo was unable to beat Psychosis. He managed to stop his opponent from launching off the top rope and he tried to go for a superplex, but Psychosis countered and Chavo lost the match after taking the guillotine leg drop. Chavo's going to get a bit more involved on Nitro in a great storyline with Uncle Eddie, but we've still got a while to go before we reach that point. Still though, I am looking forward to it. Louie Spicolli vs Juventud Guerrera takes place next on Nitro, while the Legion of Doom battle Barry Windham and Jeff Jarrett on Raw. Before the Raw match, Barry Windham says he was the greatest N.W.A world champion there ever was, and he got tired of playing sports entertainer with Yosemite Sam as a tag team partner. Barry's all about that real wrestling, and that's why he decided to roll with the N.W.A. Don't know, it sounds like either choice wasn't great to be honest. Jim Cornette says Barry Windham's going back to the top as Road Warrior Animal delivers a jumping shoulder tackle. Double J and Hawk it in the ring and Jarrett takes a neck breaker, but he comes back with a sweet drop kick followed by a leapfrog body guillotine. Hawk no-sells it and Jarrett takes a press slam, but the Rock and Roll Express distract the referee and this allows Windham to get in a cheap shot. Windham comes in and he delivers a body slam and an elbow drop. Here's Jarrett again in with a suplex. He takes a punch to the head when trying a sunset flip, but he holds on to Hawk and the N.W.A team continue to make quick tags. The crowd chant L.O.D as Jarrett runs into Hawk's back, giving Animal a chance to tag in and clean house. Animal hits a power slam on Barry Windham, but Double J breaks up the count. Ricky and Robert then jump on Animal, and this leads to Hawk attacking the Rock and Roll. The ref gets distracted by the fight outside, so Jim Cornette passes his tennis racket to Windham, and Animal takes a shot across the back. Windham covers Animal. Animal clearly kicks out just before 3, but Tim White calls for the bell, and the match is over. Fuck knows what happened here, but there's a bit of confusion after the bell. The L.O.D take another loss on TV. The crowd still chant their name, but the losses keep piling up for Hawk and Animal. Scott Hall comes to the ring with Louie Spicolli to conduct his survey, and Hall reminds the fans that Dusty Rhodes is now part of the N.W.O. Hall says Louie wants to join the group too, so Spicolli has to show Scott and the rest of the N.W.O what he's made of tonight. Hoovy comes to the ring, Scott Hall leaves, and don't settle in to watch this one because it almost immediately gets interrupted. Hoovy pulls off a springboard dropkick and Spicolli answers with a suplex. We then cut over to Randy Savage pulling up to the arena, and the Macho Man has some severe difficulties trying to open the trunk of his rental car.
What the hell's going on here?
Finally, Macho gets his shit and he heads into the arena just as Hoovy lands a dropkick on Spicolli. Macho then gets in the ring and Hoovy takes a piledriver. Guerrera wins via disqualification. Macho grabs a mic and Louie hits a Death Valley driver on Guerrera. Spicolli then counts to 3 and the referee says no, that doesn't count. And Macho Man Randy Savage says the only reason he was defeated last night was because of his so-called teammates. Randy wants Luger tonight on Nitro, and when Spicolli tries to show some support for Savage, he gets punched in the face and sent out of the ring. The N.W.O's music plays in the arena, so it looks like the Brotherhood are going to try to sort out their issues right now on Nitro. DX cut a promo next on Raw while the N.W.A have a formal discussion on Nitro. On Raw, near enough the whole Tyson and Austin promo from last week gets replayed, and it gets replayed later on too. If you missed it last week, this would have been great, not so great when trying to compare Raw to Nitro. We go to DX's locker room where Hunter's getting taped up for his match against Owen Hart tonight. He's in pain, but he says tonight Owen's going to see Triple H like he's never seen him before. Hunter may not be 100%, but even at 50%, Hunter's still more of a man than the Blackheart could ever hope to be. Hunter's gonna flush the toilet one last time and send Owen down the magical sewer ride to that cesspool down south. Brilliant. Sean says he's the icon, the showstopper, the main event. He's done a lot for the World Wrestling Federation and he gets thank you cards from fans and parents all around the world for his wonderful work. But it only takes one bad apple to ruin everything, and that bad apple is Steve Austin. HBK says Mike Tyson was a special guest and Stone Cold ruined Tyson's big announcement. So Sean says he's willing to give up his WrestleMania title defense to allow Austin and Tyson fight at WrestleMania. Hunter says Sean's so modest, he's humble and a guy who would never put himself over. But this is WrestleMania. Kids, parents, everyone wants to see Sean on the grandest stage of all, and Sean says Hunter's right. There's gotta be some way he can still contribute to Mania. He could handle Sable maybe, he could manage one of the mini wrestlers. There has to be something HBK could do at the show of shows. There has to be something. China gives Sean a bright idea and Sean says that's it. He can referee the Tyson vs Austin match. Everyone knows Michaels is a great referee, just ask The Undertaker. So Sean says the World Wrestling Federation should rely on the Heartbreak Kid to referee a match between Iron Mike Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. It just makes sense. On Nitro, the NWO get in the ring and Savage says nobody cares that he lost to Luger last night, not Bischoff, not Nash, not Hall. And as for Hulk Hogan, Hollywood makes the Macho Man sick. Hogan says if you're part of the team, you have to play the whole game. Sometimes Hogan disagrees with Big Sexy, and sometimes Hogan and Scott Hall don't see eye to eye, but the NWO's still a family. Hogan says when he and Hall came down to the ring on Saturday night during the main event, Randy Savage wasn't doing so well, and Hogan thought Macho saying his teammates would inspire him to get the job done against Lex Luger. This is bullshit, of course, because Hogan stopped Scott from helping Savage, but Hogan says at the end of the night, Lex Luger outshined Savage, and if Randy doesn't want the NWO caring for him anymore, then he's on his own. Randy says Hall and Hogan weren't very coordinated when they showed up at Sold Out, so Macho doesn't want them anywhere near him anymore, and then he takes a cheap shot by saying Hulk had better control over everything when he had the world belt around his waist. Hulk says everyone knows he beat Sting twice and Hogan should be champion right now. Hogan then gets a little heated when he talks about beating Sting at Super Brawl, and Savage gets out of the ring and he says the Macho Man will take care of Luger tonight all on his own. Hogan should focus on beating Sting, and Hogan says for now at least Savage is coasting on his own and the Macho Man will get no help from the New World Order. Next on Raw is a Royal Rumble rematch, Vader vs Goldust. On Nitro, Mortis battles Raven. Vader comes to the ring and it looks like Luna's his new manager. That's quite unexpected. Vader then makes a second entrance and... wait, this shit again? What's up with these doppelgangers on Raw? Vader attacks Vader in the corner and Vader sends Vader to the opposite corner for a clothesline. Vader then backdrops Vader and the Vader on Vader violence continues with a suplex. Vader then kicks Vader in the Vader balls and Vader cheats by choking Vader on the top rope. Luna gets involved here too. We see a clothesline from Vader, but Vader gets too cocky and Vader runs into a brick wall named Vader. Vader then powerbombs Vader. Vader signals that he's going to hit Vader with a Vader bomb. We see Vader's finisher, but then the lights go out in the arena. I like how the commentators say, "What's this?" when the lights go out. Like this hasn't been happening for fucking months now. Kane gets in the ring and Vader shows absolutely no fear. Kane takes a few of those big forearm shots and the crowd goes nuts. The pop's awesome here. Vader delivers a pile driver to the big red machine and for a moment you think Kane's finally been put down, but Taker's little brother sits up and Kane delivers a pile driver of his own. Vader gets tombstoned and it looks like the path of destruction's gonna continue even when Taker isn't around. On Nitro, Raven's sitting in the corner looking all moody and shit, so Mortis kicks Raven right in the balls to get the match started. A knee lift then sends Raven out of the ring and Raven gets sent into the ring steps. The flock watches on as Mortis continues to punish their leader and Mortis performs a famouser on top of the ring steps. Back inside the ring though, Raven holds onto the ropes when Mortis tries a front Russian leg sweep and Raven delivers a stiff knee to the midsection. Mortis falls out of the ring when Raven does it one more time. Raven then hits Mortis with a high knee while using the ring steps for extra elevation. He liked it so much that he does it again, but Mortis stays resilient and he stops Raven on the top turnbuckle and he hits a smooth jumping back elbow. Mortis then delivers a Death Valley driver slam and Mortis then asks Vandenberg to hand him a chair. For whatever reason, Vandenberg distracts the referee, completely forgetting that this is a Raven's rules match. Mortis swings the chair, but Raven ducks out of the way and the match ends with an even flow DDT. Mortis got in a ton of offense here and you'd hope someone in the back was paying attention. There was so much potential with this guy and everything he did looked good. On Nitro next we have Wrath vs DDP while the Outlaws battle Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie on Raw. We see Terry and Mick sitting in the ring earlier in the evening and they're talking about how they can't wait to see Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie take care of the Outlaws. Terry says Chainsaw looks great for a man in his mid-40s. Terry also says that Cactus Jack guy doesn't have the biggest muscles and he's got a bit of a stomach. Mick says he's got a big ass too. And Terry closes this little moment by saying that Cactus Jack dude does have a lot of heart. The Outlaws are going to take some precautions for this match, as you can see, but those catcher masks come off straight away when the action begins. Jack suplexes Billy Gunn on the rampway and he throws him into the steel steps while Charlie performs a neckbreaker on the Road Dogg. Cactus tries to low blow Road Dogg, but it looks like old Jesse James is wearing protection down there too, and Jack then gets hit in the face with Gunn's mask. And from here, the Outlaws keep the match in their corner and Terry gets destroyed thanks to some quick tags from the tag team champions. Terry Funk gets beaten so badly that by the time he's got a chance to tag in Cactus, he just walks around in circles instead. He applies a headlock to Road Dogg and Road Dogg counters with a back suplex, and Funk gets up before his opponent and he tags out. It's unconventional, but Terry gets a pass. Mick's all fired up as he takes on both Outlaws and he manages to pull off a double arm DDT on Billy Gunn. Road Dogg breaks up the cover and then all hell breaks loose and it's so good. Chainsaw starts throwing chairs into the ring and one of them hits Billy Gunn right on the ass. Road Dogg rushes at Jack with one of those chairs, but Cactus gets a boot up and then Jack wants to have a little rummage around Jesse James' underwear. There's nothing there, nothing at all except the cup James wore to the ring. So that gets removed and James takes a boot to the balls and then Jack grabs a chair. Terry smacks Gunn, Jack smacks James, Cactus then jumps off the apron onto Gunn while holding the chair, and the referee takes a mandible claw too because why not? It ends with Road Dogg getting buried under a few chairs and Terry Funk performs a moonsault. The crowd love it and I thought the fight at the end here was good. Cactus and Charlie were just better opponents for the Outlaws in comparison to the Legion of Doom and the Godwins. I'm looking forward to seeing more. Diamond Dallas Page versus Wrath on Nitro feels a little predictable, but at least we'll get to see a diamond cutter, I guess. Big Wrath overpowered DDP a few times at the beginning of the match and the two smacked each other about a bit. Dallas performs a side Russian leg sweep, Wrath replies with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Vandenberg choked Dallas out while the referee wasn't looking, and Wrath kept the pressure on with a diving clothesline. I always thought Wrath's clotheslines looked good. Dallas pulls off a flying head scissors, and DDP's clothesline doesn't look bad at all either. Dallas signals for the cutter, and then Mortis shows up. Vandenberg creates a distraction, but it backfires. Mortis gets knocked down, the crowd pops for the diamond cutter, and DDP wins the match. After the bell, Wrath hits Mortis with a death penalty. The commentators say maybe Wrath thought it was DDP, but it certainly didn't look that way. Bret the Hitman Hart cuts a promo on Nitro, and we've also got Booker T versus Saturn. On Raw, Pantera takes on Brian Christopher. Hunky Tonk Man introduced the light heavyweights, and Jim Ross wanted Jerry Lawler to behave himself and not fuck around in this match, because the winner's gonna face Takamichinoku at No Way Out of Texas next month. Christopher's German suplex looked good at the beginning of the match, and Christopher follows up with a side headlock and a clothesline. We then see a few arm drag takeovers from Pantera. Brian ends up on the outside, and Pantera pulls off a dive through the corner. Back in the ring, he goes for a handspring back elbow, but Brian catches him, and we see a full Nelson face crusher from Too Sexy. Jerry Lawler thought this was great. Pantera gets thrown to the outside, and when he tries to get back in, he ends up taking a sunset flip powerbomb. This should have been enough to end the match, but Christopher misses an aerial attack, and Pantera pulls off the Ultimo Dragon corner headstand, followed by a head scissors. Brian answers with a sit-down powerbomb, and he decides that that's it over. He goes upstairs as Jerry cheers for his boy, but the Tennessee Jam misses its mark, and Pantera wins with a cradle. Brian and Jerry can't believe it. There'll be no light heavyweight title shot at No Way Out for Too Sexy. Jerry Lawler wants to shake Pantera's hand, and of course, Pantera falls for it. On Nitro, Bret Hart says he's not gonna gloat about beating Ric Flair on Saturday night. To be the man, you gotta beat the man, but Bret says Rick will always be the man. The Hitman then says he respects Roddy Piper's decision in regards to the world title in the Sting vs Hogan match at Super Brawl, but Bret came to WCW to prove one thing, that the Hitman should be the world heavyweight champion. Bret doesn't care what happens in the Sting Hogan match. Bret's gonna prove to everyone sooner or later that he's gonna be the best world champion in WCW history. Get in line, Hitman, because Scott Hall got fucked over at Sold Out. That's it, that's the promo over. Imagine paying to see Bret Hart and this is what you get. The camera then zooms out, and check out Bret's footwear, pink and black cowboy boots. You either need to be a total fearless badass or a jam connoisseur to wear those bad boys, and luckily Bret's both of those things. Hashtag TV title conspiracy paid off, guys, and Saturn gets a shot at the TV title next on Nitro. Unfortunately though, Saturn wasn't able to get the job done, and he couldn't overcome Booker T. We got to see Saturn's usual impressive offense, and I thought this springboard clothesline looked really good, but Booker was on form tonight. Check out this smooth forearm shot right here, along with the Harlem sidekick a little later in the match. When things began looking a bit rough for Saturn, and when Booker went up for the Harlem Hangover, the Flock hit the ring, and Charles Robinson called for a DQ. The Flock, minus Raven, attack Booker T, and knight in shining armor Rick Martel makes the save. Martel and Booker take out the Flock until only Saturn's left in the ring. Perry gets a good look at these guys who screwed him over 2 weeks ago before sliding out of the ring. So this rivalry is going to continue for another few weeks. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie are just about to cut a promo, but they get interrupted by DX walking into frame. Hunter and Sean say these two are hardcore legends and they should be left alone to do hardcore legend things, so they slowly back off. The Outlaws then bust through the set, and DX help the Outlaws take out Terry and Mick, so it's good to know at least that this feud is going to continue on. Next up, we've got a Chris Jericho promo on Nitro and that Mongo vs Bulldog match. On Raw, the Headbangers take on the Quebecers. No, not the amazing French Canadians, the Quebecers. So Jacques and Pierre are coming off a hot, hard-earned victory last week. It makes sense that they'd beat the Headbangers tonight and continue their path to the tag team titles. Thrasher gets singled out right at the opening bell, but he dodges a kick and Pierre takes the hit. Jacques takes a drop kick while Mosh hits a top rope seated senton on Pierre, but Pierre manages to clothesline Thrasher when things settle down. We see some double team action as Thrasher takes a double stun gun and the Quebecers pull off a clothesline and sweep combo that looked great. Mosh argues with the referee while the Quebecers set up another double team move, but Thrasher counters and Mosh gets the hot tag. We see a great double backdrop from the HeadBangers, and the HeadBangers playfully bump into each other when they get Irish whipped. Jock goes for an Alabama slam, but Mosh counters with a cover, and the HeadBangers win. Absolute bullshit. The Quebecers attack Mosh and Thrasher after the bell, but it really didn't matter. If the Quebecers could get easily defeated by a team the WWF hadn't taken seriously for the past lot of months, then you know exactly where Pierre and Jock stood during this WWF comeback. There's nothing special about them. Over on Nitro, Jericho presents himself as the new Cruiserweight Champion. Mike Tenay wants to know why Jericho attacked Mysterio with that utility box it sold out, and Jericho says he's going to use that box to carry his Cruiserweight title in. Jericho pretends to be surprised when Mike Tenay says Mysterio has a torn ACL and a torn meniscus, leading to knee surgery getting scheduled this week, and Jericho says Mysterio's his favourite wrestler, so Chris dedicates his Cruiserweight title to Ray himself. Actually, scrap that, he dedicates it to Chris Jericho first, his fans second, and Mysterio third. Jericho hopes that Ray never ever injures his leg again. Chris hopes to wage many successful battles with his Cruiserweight belt, and he starts getting emotional when he thanks the fans for sticking with him this whole time. Chris stands before the fans as their hero and their role model. Chris wears Rey Mysterio's shirt as a tribute, and nobody wants to see Ray back sooner than Chris Jericho. Mike Tenay says this was sickening before sending it over to Tony Schiavone. We now get the WCW return of Davey Boy Smith, and our Lord and Saviour can have matches against some of WCW's finest and show him what locking chins is all about. I honestly can't remember what happens in this match, so I'm curious to see if he actually pulls off a chin lock. Judging by the match time though, I'd say no. Mongo attacks as Davey tries to get in the ring, and Steve pulls off a sidewalk slam, and he follows this up with a falling front slam. Davey kicks out of the follow-up cover. Mongo performs his 3-point stance tackle and he signals for the Mongo spike. Mongo thinks this has been way too easy, but Davey explodes with a big old clothesline and Mongo can't stand up afterwards. He's completely fucked. Mongo takes a back elbow and Davey has to try extra hard to get Steve up for the vertical suplex. It's not ring rust, he's just fucking amped up to be in this illustrious Nitro match. Mongo performs a back elbow when he chokes Davey on the mat, but it was written in the stars that Davey would return to WCW and beat Steve McMichael on Nitro, and so it came to be. Davey again struggled to lift Mongo up, but he got there in the end, and the running power slam looked a bit shit. Not a chin lock in sight, guys. This is a new and improved Davey Boy Smith that wears arm tassels. In all seriousness though, Davey struggled a bit here when lifting Mongo and it happened twice, but let's hope there's improvement next time around. Some may say it's because Davey wrestled Mongo, but everyone else worked around Mongo's shortcomings without dropping him. Kevin Nash vs Ray Trailers next on Nitro. On Raw we've got the big Triple H vs Owen Hart European title match. Let's do the Nitro match first because it's not even a match. Nash throws coffee on Ray Trailer right away and then he hits him with a jackknife. I like this. Big Sexy does not care about JJ Dillon and he doesn't care about the consequences. The crowd booed like crazy when Dillon outlawed the powerbomb, and right here, they cheered like crazy when Nash said fuck you and he performed his finisher anyway. Nash gets handcuffed by Doug Dillinger, he laughs and says, "Get this on tape, I have a case." And he shouts Attica as he gets brought back up the entranceway. Brilliant. Officials tend to Ray Trailer before Nitro moves on to its main event. Owen Hart comes to the ring on Raw and he's ready to beat Triple H for the European title. Triple H and China come out and, I don't know, he looks different here, doesn't he? Okay, it's Goldust, Hunter Dust, whatever, and Luna's cosplaying as China. You can see Owen saying this is fucking bullshit as Hunter Dust tells the fans to suck it, and Owen has no choice but to wrestle the match when Hunter Dust attacks him. Owen takes a clothesline followed by a few boots in the corner. Hunter Dust takes his wig off as Owen catches his breath on the outside, but the Blackheart gets thrown into the ring steps and Luna gets in a cheap shot too. He comes back though with a nice twisting crossbody that floors Goldust momentarily. Goldust comes back with a clothesline though. Goldust performs the knee drop and Owen takes a snapmare followed by a chin lock. Luna lends a hand on the outside, and when Owen fights out, the match goes straight back to the mat where Goldust works over the knee. We then come back from a commercial break and Owen's now in control. We see the spinning wheel kick and Owen lays in the right hands, and then Zaguri knocks the nose right off Goldust's face and Owen goes to the top rope for a missile dropkick. Owen lands the move, but Luna smacks Owen with Hunter's crutch. A pedigree attempt then gets countered, and Owen Hart applies the sharpshooter for a submission victory. DX appear on the Titantron and they laugh at Owen. Shawn says DX are always one step ahead, while Triple H calls himself a genius. Sergeant Slaughter comes to the ring and he says, yeah, this was pretty good, DX has done it again. Goldust playing the role of Triple H really convinced the commissioner, and since he was so well convinced, the Sarge is going to make a judgment call. Owen Hart had a sanctioned European title match tonight, so Slaughter's awarding Owen Hart a victory over Triple H and the European title. Owen Hart is the new European champion. DX lose their shit while Owen celebrates in the ring. I remember this quite well, and it's one of the only times an authority figure actually got one up over D-Generation X during this era. Alright, time to end this week's episode of Reliving the War. Scott Hall vs Lex Luger on Nitro, Don King and Steve Austin cut promos on Raw. This week's episode of Raw has really suffered due to the constant replays from last week. WWF were absolutely right to milk it for all it's worth, but it makes for a bad viewing experience when watching it back. I didn't mention this earlier, but Mike Tyson's either been shown or brought up before and after each and every match, and it's been way too much. Don King says Mike Tyson wants Austin and Austin wants Tyson. These two badass motherfuckers need to settle their differences the old-fashioned way, but there's one slight problem. The Nevada State Athletic Commission aren't going to let Tyson fight, so Don King and Vince McMahon are going to have to get together and figure out a creative way for Tyson to get involved at WrestleMania. King makes it clear that Tyson isn't happy about what happened last week, but we, the viewers, should pick up our phones and call our local cable operators to get WrestleMania an affordable pleasure that we just can't miss. Fucking corny bastard. So there you have it, you've no choice now. Something's got to give on March 29th and Mike Tyson will be at WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble winner Steve Austin comes to the ring and he says he's pissed off. Mike Tyson thought he could push him around and not get any kind of payback, and Tyson's going to find out firsthand that you don't mess with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin heard what Don King said and he heard Tyson wants a fight. Austin says he'll fight Tyson in Mike's own backyard, Austin's backyard, or anyone else's backyard, and Austin plans on knocking Tyson's gold tooth out and turning it into a necklace for the rattlesnake. So, Austin says he's going to be in Houston, Texas for the No-Way Out pay-per-view and he challenges Tyson to show up. Austin says he'll knock Tyson out if he appears at the event, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. On Nitro, Scott Hall says that Larry Zbyszko got exposed at Sold Out. Larry has zero wrestling abilities and zero talent, so Larry should take a walk to the tar pit along with the rest of the dinosaurs. Larry loses his shit and he tries to go after Hall, but he's stopped by security. After a commercial break, Tony Schiavone says that Larry's been escorted out of the arena. Old Doug Dillinger's been busy tonight. So, Luger vs Scott Hall again. We watched this match a year ago at Clash of the Champions. We saw it again at Halloween Havoc 1997, and we saw it last week on Nitro as well. 2.5 minutes of action, folks. The two share strikes in the corner and Lex goes down after a clothesline. Hall then lays in a few kicks to the ribs before flooring Luger again with a big right hand, and Lex turns it all around quick enough and Scott takes a ton of rights in the corner. Hall tries to push Lex away, but Lex keeps coming back. Lex hits the power slam and he signals for the rack. Hall gets put in Luger's finisher, but Randy Savage runs in and it's a DQ finish. I'm shocked. Randy Anderson does a fucking fantastic job of taking away Macho's chair, but Randy remains aggressive and he throws Scott out of the ring so he can do some damage to Luger. Randy hits the diving elbow on the total package, but his second one gets interrupted by Sting coming down from the rafters and literally kicking Macho off the top rope. Two Stinger splashes get followed up with Sting Scorpion Deathlock. Hulk Hogan shows up and remember, Macho's on his own, so Hogan taunts Randy from the outside. Hall and Hogan walk away from the ring and Sting challenges Hulk to step inside the ropes, but that's not going to happen. Nitro fades out with Hall and Hulk looking at the Stinger. I'm absolutely torn this week. Nitro wasn't all that good and Raw had way too many replays from last week. WCW tried to cram way too much into this 3-hour show. 13 matches on an episode of Nitro is way too much, and don't forget about promos, whereas the WWF only had 7 matches. The WWF though decided to replay the Tyson stuff over and over again, and the main focal point of Raw was what happened last week. So I'm calling it a tie this week. I can't recommend one over the other. On our scoreboards, we have 53 points to Raw, 51 points to Nitro, and we now have 14 ties. In the TV ratings, Nitro recorded a massive 4.7, while Raw got a 3.5, down quite a bit from last week's 4.0 rating. You'd have thought there would have been a bigger audience watching this week due to the media coverage of Mike Tyson. Next week on Raw, D-Generation X have a special announcement regarding the mature content found on WWF programming. A Cactus Jack vs Chainsaw Charity match is scheduled to take place, and Stone Cold main events Raw in a match with Road Dogg Jesse James. On Nitro, the Disco Inferno takes on Raven. We get a Mongo vs British Bulldog rematch that's sure to be match of the year, and Sting wrestles on Nitro. The Stinger vs Randy Savage main events the show. Thanks for watching, guys. Look after yourselves out there, and hopefully I'll see you all next week.